Bernie Sanders said on Sunday that he wants to see a revolution in this country in the way that we treat women. Take a look.
Look, Al Franken indicated that he was going to resign. And I think what Franken did touches on an issue of enormous consequence for this country. And what I worry about, Jake, is not just what happens with regard to famous people. We see that in the papers every day, whether it's in the media, the corporate world, or in politics. Right now, as we speak, in restaurants all over this country, in offices all over this country, there are folks who are not famous, who are harassing women, making demands on women that are obscene. And we need a revolution in the way we treat women at the workforce from the bottom on up.
So this is a really important point that Bernie Sanders made, and I really want to draw attention to this because I think it's crucial that we recognize this. Now, the Me Too movement has been so empowering and so effective in so many ways. That said, it is a movement for the privileged. Most of the people that are coming out are famous women, they are rich white women, frankly, and it's leaving out an entire demographic of women who cannot come forward and say Me Too. Now, the majority of women who are sexually harassed or sexually abused are actually within the service industry, right? And those are women who maybe who are in hotel rooms alone with guests who they cannot come out against, or if they're in a restaurant and it's somebody that they're waiting a table on or something like that, or if they're a housekeeper and their boss and there's no union to protect them, their boss is the person who is sexually harassing them or sexually abusing them. There's no HR department or anything like that. These women are being left out of this movement. We are forgetting the women in this movement as we try to combat this horrendous and ubiquitous problem. Now, I want to show you here a chart here that talks about the total sexual harassment charges filed by industry between 2005 and 2015. Now, keep in mind while looking at this that these numbers aren't totally representative because sexual harassment is one of the most underreported crimes that we have. And so these numbers might be much bigger, much greater, especially in the service industry where women may not feel that they can come out and report these things. So let's look at this. Now, the top reportings are accommodation, food services, the retail trade, healthcare and social assistance, administrative and support and waste management and remediation. So all of these sorts of service industries. And then you look down at 1.61%, and that's arts, entertainment, and recreation. So it feels like every single day we see another actress coming forward or musician coming forward talking about sexual harassment or sexual abuse. That only accounts for 1.61% of these sexual harassment charges. And when you're looking at the majority of sexual harassment that is happening, it is within these service industries, and we're completely leaving behind these low-income women, oftentimes women of color, and we need to change that. We need to start from the bottom up, just like Bernie Sanders is talking about.
So didn't I tell you the other day that when I was here last week, that when I went to breakfast with you, I left relieved because you weren't a pervert? And I was like, oh, thank God. That it's in the sensibility of all women that when we go, we have to encounter a man in a position of power, especially someone who is far more empowered than we are. We have to worry about being in a situation that's going to be uncomfortable because it is so embedded in our culture. And I always think about the girls at Applebee's, and when I work at the comedy club, because I'm the headliner that weekend, I encounter someone being inappropriate with me. So I always think about the servers that are there, because if I say something can happen, but those girls can lose their jobs. Even the other day when you asked me about Russell Simmons, I have to be really careful because he's a producer of comedy shows, and if I say the wrong thing about Russell Simmons, I may not work in a comedy show again. We always have to think about these things. This is a cultural issue. I mean, where in the world can you go that women don't feel, that they're being that they're second best, or they're being, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's everywhere. It's in everything. And I do agree with Bernie. We have to have a paradigm shift, and it begins with the education of our boys. The biggest feminist in my house is my son. My daughter knows. I talked to her about it, but I had to educate my son on how to treat women.
So, you told me that story off air about the breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a really interesting perspective. I never thought of it that way, because I go to breakfast meetings all the time. I don't think twice about it. But from your perspective, when you were going to talk to me about a show, you had to be concerned, is this that type of guy or that type of guy? And when you said that to me last week off air, I was like, wow, Like, I have never had to go to any meeting, breakfast or otherwise, where I thought, might I be in danger, right? And what might happen here that puts me in an incredibly awkward spot. So just try to think of the shoe being on the other foot and broaden your perspectives here. And for what Bernie said, look, I know why the media covers other stuff more, and it's very logical, right? So everybody knows Harvey Weinstein, everybody knows Kevin Spacey, and a lot of people know the accusers, Ashley Judd, et cetera, right? And so it's hard to resist that story, and you shouldn't. And in fact, covering that 1.6% has led to, I think, an awakening that affects the rest of the culture and rest of society. So I think it's been a great movement overall. We just have to find a way, and I'm not sure what the answer is, to get the help for other women that need it when it's not as interesting to the rest of the media to cover them.
Yeah, I think you make a really great point, Cenk, because it is important that the Ashley Judds of the world, Rose McGowan, Lupita Nyong'o, it's so important that they came out because they really did sort of expedite this cultural shift in a way that people could sort of grasp onto because they're tangible. We know who they are, right? They have name recognition, and it's important that they do come forward. And it's important that things shift from top down as well. Like, it's important that we have sexual harassment training in Congress and Senate, and we make more laws to try to prevent this sort of thing from happening. But I think what Aida is getting at, and that is really, really important here, is that it's not so much obviously the punishment of the men who do these things is very crucial, right? And who talk like this and who commit these sorts of acts are crucial to this shift that we see. But it's also really about education. Like, for women, like you were talking about, Cenk, for women, it's not like if we are going to get sexually harassed or if we are going to get sexually assaulted. It is when.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the reality of what it means to be a woman. And so you can go to one meeting and it could be okay, and then the next meeting it's not. And so for these women who have these established careers and who have the platform to come forward, I applaud them. But if you are younger, if you do not have an established career, if you are in a low income job, if you are a person of color, it's not so easy. And so we need to provide a net for them to come forward about these things. We need to provide them protection, and we really need to provide an education for our boys that it is not okay to exert your power in these ways, and it is not okay to hold these beliefs that you can speak about, act around women in these ways.
If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member, tytnetwork.com/join.